The ATM business looks easy until you own an ATM. The ATM business looks incredibly simple. From the outside, buy an ATM, put it in the store, load it with cash, collect transactional fees. Simple, right? But guess what? That's the pitch you hear online. But after someone buys their first ATM, they usually say something like, nobody ever told me about this part. And that's when terror sets in. Because the ATM business is simple, but owning and operating an ATM is not as effortless as people make it sound. The machine may be automated, but the business behind the machine still needs to be managed. That's where the real challenge steps in. Before you spend thousands of dollars on an ATM, there are 3 things you need to understand. There are 3 lessons almost every ATM owner discovers after buying their first machine. Learning them now can save you money and time, frustration, and months of making preventative mistakes. And if you're serious about learning how the ATM business actually works, please like and subscribe to this video and turn on that notification bell, because I've spent decades in the industry and my goal is to show you guys what really happens in the ATM business, not just what it sounds like online. All right, let's get into it. Lesson number 1, you're not buying an ATM machine, you're buying a location. This is the biggest misconception in the ATM industry. Most beginners spend weeks researching machines. Should I buy this brand? Should I buy this model? Should I buy new or used? Those questions matter, but they're not the first question you should be asking. The machine is not what determines whether you make money. The location is what matters. You could install the best ATM in the world in a bad location and the ATM still won't perform. On the other hand, you can install an average machine inside a great location and it could be very profitable. Why? Because transactions come from the people, not the machine. I always tell people you're not in the ATM business first, you're in the location business. The ATM is simply an equipment used to serve that location. Before you ever think about buying the machine, ask these 3 questions. Number 1, who needs cash at this location? Number 2, how many potential ATM customers walk through that door every day? And number 3, why should someone use the ATM instead of going to their bank or using another payment method? But you also need to understand your customer's behavior. A business can have a lot of foot traffic and still be a terrible ATM location. What matters is not only how many people enter the business, what matters is whether those customers have a reason to withdraw cash from your ATM. Bars, nightclubs, convenience stores, gaming establishments, laundromats, and certain restaurants and other cash-heavy businesses still create demand for an ATM, but every location still needs to be evaluated individually. If you can't clearly answer who needs cash, how often they need it, and why they would use your machine, then don't buy the ATM yet. You're making a guess instead of an investment. Cash is your inventory. This catches a lot of ATM operators off guard. If you own a restaurant, your inventory is food. If you own a clothing store, your inventory is merchandise. If you own an ATM, your inventory is cash. An empty ATM is not an income-producing asset. It's simply a machine that's sitting inside a business. Here's the part many beginners don't consider. A good location requires more cash. The better the ATM performance, the more money you're going to need to keep it available so you can have transactions. Let's say an ATM averages 100 withdrawals per month and an average withdrawal amount of $100. That machine may dispense approximately $10,000 every month. If your machine grows 200 transactions, you may now need to be managing over $20,000 a monthly cash movement. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that you need $20,000 sitting in your ATM at one time, but you do need enough available cash to get to the next collection period so your ATM is constantly full of money. I've seen people get excited because their ATM starts doing more transactions only to realize that they didn't have enough cash to support the growth. They focused on purchasing the equipment, but they didn't build a vault cash strategy. Ask yourself a simple question. If my ATM doubles in transactions the next month, could I financially support it? That's where people start to get panicked and they make mistakes. Most people never ask that question. They focus on buying the machine. Professional operators focus on operating the machine. There's a big difference. You need to learn that. You need to understand where the cash will come from. Who will load the machine? How often will it be loaded? How the cash will be tracked? And what happens when transaction volume suddenly increases? Don't get caught off guard. A profitable ATM without enough vault cash becomes an out-of-service ATM, and that doesn't generate any revenue. Lesson number 3, you're buying a business, not a passive income. This is because most important lesson in this entire video, the machine is automated, the business is not. You still have the merchant relationship, cash management, transactional monitoring, settlement, reporting, maintenance, compliance responsibilities, and occasional problem that needs to be resolved. None of these things are impossible, but they do require a system. PDQ has that system to help you guys. That's why I don't describe ATMs as completely passive income. I look at them as a financial infrastructure, an infrastructure that can produce predictable income when it's managed correctly. The operators who succeed in the ATM business do not buy machines and hope for the best. They build an infrastructure, an operating system around their business. They know how cash will be managed. They know how the machine will be monitored. They know how settlement deposits will be reconciled. They know how service problems will be handled. They know how merchant relationships will be maintained. And they also know what they will do if a location stops performing. Answer, they cool the machine. Because they have systems, the business becomes easier as they operate it. Without systems, every machine becomes another problem you have personally managed. With systems, each machine becomes part of an organized portfolio. Here's a practical exercise. Take a piece of paper and answer 3 questions. How do I manage the cash? How would I handle the equipment or transactional issues? How would I communicate with the merchant? Answer those questions. It'll save you time. If you don't know the answers yet, that's okay. But those unanswered questions show you where the educational gap before you invest your money in an ATM. It is much less expensive to discover an educational gap before buying the machine than it is to discover an operating problem after the machine has already been installed. The ATM business looks easy until you own one, because there are very important things building behind the scenes that most people never talk about. You're not buying a machine. You're securing a location, managing cash flow systems, maintaining a great merchant relationship, and operating a real business. The good news is that none of these things are overwhelming or complicated, but it must be understood and managed correctly. When you understand the location, prepare for cash requirements, and build the proper operating system, the ATM business can become very predictable and easy at that. But when you're buying a machine without understanding what happens after the purchase, that's when expensive mistakes begin, and you're left with a boat anchor. I have a free ATM business checklist that goes much deeper into what we covered on today. It walks you through the questions I would answer before investing in my first ATM, including: is the location a viable asset? How much cash will I need? How will I manage the machine after it's installed? Am I really prepared to operate this as a business? You can download the checklist using the first link in the description below. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and always turn on that notification bell for more practical ATM content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next video.